Today I would like to talk about bullying, but actually I want to really talk about anti-bullying. So, not, well, kind of advocating for stopping bullying, but I'm seeing a lot of things about how when you are bullied, it's so difficult to recover, and you're kind of bound to this life of social anxiety and worries forever. And I could talk about alternative ways to view it, but I think it's much more practical to think about how bullying actually works, how bullying actually affects the psyche, what it does to kind of cause all of its aftermaths. And so basically, if we truly understand what bullying does, and if we can basically do the exact opposite, can't we kind of reverse engineer the whole process of bullying? Is sort of the motivation for this video. So I want to talk a little bit about my experience with bullying. So I grew up in two different cultures. I grew up sort of half in Korea and half in the United States. And I can tell you that bullying seems to be a global thing because it happened across all my growing up experience. And now, when I was in Korea, I wasn't really the target of a bully, but of course, I saw it all the time. And the core difference between Korea and Americas is that in Korea there's a lot of physical violence, at least during the time where I grew up, right? And especially I didn't live in the capital city. I lived in the like southernmost part of Korea, so it was like human rights was like way behind the times. But anyway, teachers used to beat the living shit out of kids, and kids beat the shit out of each other, and then it was all sort of like socially acceptable. And at home, like parents beat the shit out of kids as well. So it's like a kind of a really violent culture. And in there, bullying, of course, involves a lot of physical violence. And so, yeah, like the bullies belittle you, right? Bullies make fun of you. But more importantly, the bullies beat you up. And at least in America, it's like there's this sort of detentions, there's like suspensions, and you do get into some sort of trouble, at least systemically, right? It may not be like enforced equally, but systems are in place for that. But in Korea, during the time of my education there, violence was just so commonplace that nobody would really bat an eye. So living became this horrible experience because for the people who were being bullied because they were just so physically hurt all the time. And there's a bullying prevention kind of a non-profit in Korea, and it's established by this person whose son took his own life because of bullying. And this story is really gut-wrenching because apparently the son of this person attempted suicide by falling, but then he failed. So he dragged his body up the elevator one more time and properly ended his life. So, as a parent, that just has to be really gut wrenching, right? And so he became the founder of this really prominent anti-bullying organization they're doing a lot of great work inside Korea to prevent kind of bullying and school violence. And times have caught up now. Teachers can't hit students, and students when they have violent records, they get expelled. They get like the consequences. So something's happening there. But back to the main topic. So in Korea, I know that aside from the like psychological torture, there's this aspect of physical torture. And in America, I actually experienced bullying as a target, right? And so this one's kind of weird because in Korea there's no freedom, right? So I had to always like shave my head, and then I always had to wear a uniform with a tie, and then basically there's no freedom for students when I was growing up. So now I came to the United States, like it's like holy crap, like so much freedom, right? So I let my hair grow out. I wore like all these crazy clothing because guess what? Now I can, right? So I was really exercising my freedom, which sort of made it immediately obvious that I was kind of a fob, right? Fresh off the boat, so to speak, in terms of the immigrant language. So that means I became kind of an easy target for all the Korean Americans at school, right? So the Korean Americans wanted to kind of pick on me and kind of bully me. So when I think about it, it's like it's so crazy how kids can be so fucked up. But they basically picked this sort of like really weak white girl and made her the proxy for bullying me. So every day during lunchtime, this random girl, white girl, would walk up to me and then say all these like unimaginable curse words at me in Korean. And I'm just sitting there during lunchtime, like, what the fuck is happening, right? And then this just went on for weeks and months, and it like literally drove me like on the verge of I was going through a tough time, and then I erupted in violence, and then so like there were consequences for that, right? But like the thing is, I bit back, and then that was in junior high in eighth grade, and then now I went to high school, and all the people who bullied me, their older siblings were in that high school, right? So again, like word got in that I'm this dude who suddenly entered this school district with this like blazing, I don't know, target in my back, and then so now I got bullied by this mass group of like Korean Americans, and it's kind of ridiculous if now I think about it. And that's sort of the reason why Koreans don't really like get along with Koreans, like unless there's like this whole stereotype within Korean community, but more about that later. But anyway, American bullying is centered around like the more psychological things, right? There are shoves and there are pushes and there is like some element of physical violence, but if you get caught, there's like pretty bad consequences for it. So like it's not as prominent as in Korea. But how does really bullying work? Bullying works by basically diminishing your existence. Bullying leads you to believe that everything that you do is more or less unacceptable and better off not existing. So you're kind of this platform in which other people step on to look better, right? And so, but nobody in their right mind would volunteer for such a thing. So bullies pick an easy target and then continuously drain the sense of self authority so that they succumb to the power. Another element, so like so the first element of how bullying works is basically robbing them of their power by diminishing them. And that is basically shame, right? They're shaming them. Whatever they do, it's laughable. Whatever you do, it's laughable. Whatever you do, it's up for criticism. Whatever you do, it's made fun of and ridiculed. Therefore, like your whole existence is just there for ridiculing. And so you learn to look at yourself through that lens. And that's sort of how bullying diminishes your sense of self worth using shame as the primary kind of vehicle. So, how do we kind of reverse engineer this? How do we get the power in our life back? We have to sort of stop, we have to stop looking at ourselves through the lens of the bully. We have to stop looking at ourselves as someone who is going to be ridiculed, right? Who is up on the chopping block at all times. But the thing is, that's so hard to do because your life has already been established like this. So, here's the thing. The same thing can happen, right? Someone makes fun of me and then someone does like blah 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 blah, all these like horrible things. But now, consider this. There's a version of me who is exactly what I did. I was timid and I got super conscious of my like Korean status and such and blah blah blah. But now consider an alternative version of me who had way more confidence and just owned the situation. Like, hey, whoa, let's talk about this. Do you know what you're saying to me? I don't understand. Why are you saying all these things to me? Like, where did you learn these things? Who told you it's okay to do these things, right? So, in when I take the agency in, like the situation doesn't escalate because I don't perpetuate that kind of view onto myself, right? But now that requires like an alternative version of me, right? Okay, so what does it mean to be this version of me? And what does it mean to be this version of me? What does it mean to be the timid version of me? And what does it mean to be the more confident version of me? That is precisely what I talk about in this channel as karma, right? Your life, all the parts of your upbringing, your parents, the way their personality is, your DNA, how they parent you, what they went through as adults, like was your family affluent when they were raising you, were they in hard times? All these things play a factor into how your life is headed towards, right? So basically, your how you react to situations is largely dependent on your karma. And so, like when your whole humanhood is raised to be really conscious of other people's opinions, of course the bullies get to you, right? So you have to understand that if you were bullied and you're still having a really difficult time about it, everything in your life points to you being very subject to other people's opinions of you. And so that has to be counteracted, right? So we can reverse engineer the shame by we need to stop looking at other people's perspectives of me, but developing my own perspective of who I am. Developing the sense of like, you know what? They can tell me I'm cringy. They can tell me I look too Korean. But guess what? I am Korean. So therefore, of course, it makes sense that I'm Korean, right? You may not like it, but this is how I am. You gotta deal with it, right? Or yeah, this is the way I talk. So what? I could pick apart like things about how you say things, right? So that kind of defining your experience for yourself, it's not innate to you because of all the past experiences, all the karma that you accumulate with your life, never gave you that ability to acquire that skill. It never gave you that sense of defining your life in your own terms. But what's the good thing about the digital age? What's the good thing about YouTube? You get to understand this process, right? So now you can make an informed decision about your life. Okay, so now based on how I was raised, based on the things that I could not control. For example, you couldn't pick what elementary school you wanted to go to, right? I mean, you could have had a say if your parents were rich and they had a choice between public school and private school. Maybe you had a chance. But when you're young, you typically don't have a choice in what school you're going to go to, what class you're going to be assigned to, who you're going to be like, in the same classroom with, who's going to be in your class. None of that is up to you. So your experience with bullying, that was given to you. But now as an adult, how you're going to digest it and how you are going to grow from the version of you that never acquired that skill of being self-reliant with your self-image, that you have to take responsibility for yourself now in order for things to change. But I do need to preface it with this with saying, is it going to be hard for you? Yes, because that's not how you were raised. So it's going to be uncomfortable for you. So, but as long as you understand that, hey, you know what? This process is going to be uncomfortable. Just like if you want to be fit, you have to exercise. But exercise is hard, right? But if you really want to get fit, you kind of like take it. Yeah, okay, it'll be hard, but I'm doing this for myself, right? It just needs that same kind of commitment of like, you know what? Yeah, everything in my life has led me to believe that I need to rely on other people's judgments and experience of me so that I can define myself. That's been the default life that's been given to me. But I'm an adult now. Therefore, I'm going to choose my path. How do I want to live? Obviously, I want to live free from the fact that I was bullied, right? So, how do I do that? I do that by intentionally developing a sense of self-respect and self-identity. Now, with the understanding that simply because it's unfamiliar to me, it'll be difficult for me. But I take it. I take it. I take the cost of difficulty and unfamiliarity because at the end, what I get is regardless of what other people tell me, I respect myself. Even if they don't, I respect me. So, can that mean if you're in Korea that you will get beaten up? Yeah, but when when you let other people bend your will by violence, that's becoming bullied, right? So to overcome that, you gladly face the possibility of being beaten up if it means you can stand up for yourself. And that will is most of the times what's missing in so many people, so many children, so many adults. Because the need to be safe always preserves on top. So it's a messed up situation. Should you be tested like that? No. In an ideal world, no. But if you want to redigest your experience with bullying and come out truly free from this experience, are you willing to get beaten up because of it? Are you willing to potentially die in the hands of other people if it means you can be self-reliant? If you can harness that will, that's what it will take to be completely free of the experience of bullying and how your life has allowed for it. Kind of a heavy topic today, but I hope it was informative to you. And I speak a lot about shaming and how you kind of like tangle the root of shame in my book called The Shame Formula. It used to be Own Your Cringe, and it's available on Amazon for your reading pleasure today if you want to check it out. See you in the next video.